Good evening, my people, and welcome to this webinar. I was just thinking to myself, and I thought maybe I should go online and just talk about these things. At times you just sit and certain things come to your mind, and you're thinking, maybe I should share this with the people. I should share this with my community because I want the community to know about this. I mean, Again, my name is Charles Andrea. For those who don't know me, I'm a CPA, I'm a certified tax strategist, and I'm a wealth coach. I help my clients to avoid taxes. I help them build wealth. I help them grow their assets through something I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show you how we structure. I belong to a group of, it's the largest tax strategist group in America. The mainstream it's called the Mainstream Tax Advisor. So it's led by someone, a great guy. It's called Mark Collar. And Mark Collar is really the guy who gives us all these kind of incredible training. You see this, and then you're like, if these people have been doing this for all these years, I can do this as well. So I'm going to teach you about something he calls the trifecta. The trifecta is a tool that I have mastered, we have mastered, and we use it for our clients. We basically show them how you should structure in order to build wealth. We show you how you should structure your estate in order to do. These are the things that millionaires and billionaires have been using in this country for years and years, and it's been working for them. And it's worked for them. This group, the network I belong to, has been doing this for years, for over 30, 40 years. And we help our clients. In my community, I have a lot of people who are able to take advantage of these things. I just want to throw it out there so that you guys can take it and then talk to your CPAs, talk to your tax advisors, talk to your tax strategists, because tell them that this is something I want you to implement for me. And I know it works tremendously because, the top 3% of Americans who pay 0%, $0 in taxes have all used this strategy. So I'm going to go to the whiteboard and just present this document to you just the way I have it. And then we are all going to see how it works. This is what I do day in, day out for my clients, and I'm going to show it to you. Let's go. So I'm going to share my whiteboard right now. And let's see what this is all about. So this whiteboard right here, I have something. Let me make sure everybody's seeing. The whiteboard, perfect. It works perfect. So the first thing I want to do is to try to reduce the size of my pen because it seems as if it's very thick. We're going to reduce the thickness. Perfect. So basically, it's something called the trifecta. They call it the trifecta. So what is a trifecta? This is the tool that allows you, again, it allows you to structure yourself in order to be able to maximize your wealth building process, in order to do things in a more synchronized way. I know most of us, we either see one person who does this, who does that, who looks at your assets, who looks at your bookkeeping, who looks at different aspects of what you do. But here we're going to put them all into one single bucket. And I am sure you are going to love it. I have loved it, and I'm implementing for my family, and I implement it for my clients. I've been doing this for over a year now that I'm implementing just this strategy for all my clients, and I want you to do the same. So what does the trifecta look like? The trifecta, the top, so it starts from something called a revocable living trust. So a revocable living trust is the foundation of your estate from a legal perspective. From the legal standpoint, the revocable living trust. And I know when we talk about trust, most people think about, this must be expensive. We're going to talk about it. Trust, I tell everybody you want to have a trust. So a revocable living trust is what? It is an estate plan. An estate plan. And an estate plan, in here you want to have a trust, and you also want to have a will. This is very important. The trust, why is the trust different from the will? So the trust allows you to get something called privacy. It gives you privacy. And then it allows you, it also avoids something called probate. And I know many of you know what I'm talking about. So a probate, when somebody passes, when you pass in this country, if you are in our communities, I know a lot of people don't even have wills. But if you have a will, what happens is that it goes through something called a probate. Probate court means it goes through a judge, and that judge has to basically approve that will for it to be executed. And what we've seen numerous times is that people who have wills, we know of great people like Aretha Franklin's, we know of great people like, we were talking of the owner of Cash App who just passed on. And all these people, when they die, you have to wait for probate court to approve that will before it is executed. That doesn't happen for a trust. With a trust, the basic thing is that it gives you privacy. It also allows you to be able to transfer your estate from one generation to another without going through a probate court. And it gives you, it basically allows you to select somebody called, you have to create it, you have to select a trustee, you own the trust, you select a trustee, and then you have you also have what you call the trustee is the person who basically runs, who manages the trust for you on a daily basis, who executes all what you've put in, you've decided, you've written in the trust, and then you decide who is the beneficiary of all these estates. So you have the trust. Inside the trust, you have all your assets are all kind of funded in the trust, because you kind of fund a trust by transferring all your assets in the trust. And then in that trust, you have a beneficiary, you have your beneficiaries who are basically, you decide on how you want to go. When you pass on, this is transferred without any issues. You don't have to wait for anything, it just goes through. So from a legal standpoint, the foundation of your estate is really the revocable living trust. And then below it, you have something, it funnels down to something called your 1040. Your 1040, most people, this is your tax return. Most people think your 1040, you only prepare taxes in order to have what you call, maybe you're preparing taxes because you want to basically comply. Tax preparation in America, taxes, your 1040 is the most important tool for wealth building. So when you're preparing your 1040, you have to be careful, because that's going to determine how much access to other people's money you can get. So what you do is that all your assets, so from a tax standpoint, your foundation is always your 1040. So basically, you want to divide your estate into two. And then on the right side, you have your assets. Assets are anything that is passive activity. Okay. And then on the left side is operations. Operations meaning everything you are doing. This is your day-to-day work, where you go to work, whatever you do, it's under operations. On the asset side, these assets are passive activity. They basically work the dollars for you. You're sleeping and the dollars are working for you. On the asset, on the operation side, this is your daily activity, your W-2 work, your business, the things that you go on a daily basis and you do for you. It's simple. Is what you here, you're having your ass do the work for you, and here your assets are basically producing the dollar for you, while your ass is doing all the dollars for you. I'm sorry about my language, but I just want to push that out there so we all understand here. So basically here, on this side, you might have spouses. And generally, I want to talk to, when I talk about this, I'm thinking many people who come with, who are families, you have spouses. In a home, you basically will have a spouse. Your spouse can be on W-2, or both of you can be on W-2. Or one spouse has a W-2 and the other has a business. Maybe you want to have whatever you have. But when clients come to me and one person has a W-2, or both of them have W-2s, I generally tell them that regardless of where you are, I want you to have a side business. No matter how small the side business is. It could be Uber or whatever you're doing. I want you to own something. Once you own that something, you start making money out of that something. That something allows me, it's like a bucket that allows me to be able to play with in terms of trying to optimize your taxes. Because the whole objective is that we are trying to avoid you that big bucket of tax expenditure. The largest expenditure that you have in America as an employee or whatever is going to be your taxes. So you want to mitigate your taxes by using this process right here. So you have a side gig. When the side gig starts making money, I want you to turn it into an LLC. And then if this LLC starts making more money, generally I talk of 45K. If you are netting 45K from this LLC, I want you to create an S Corp. And the reason you're creating an S Corp is because with this, you're going to avoid taxes, something called self-employment tax. Self-employment tax is 15.3% of your tax base before you start thinking about anything. All these are also owned by what? By your revocable living trust. Whatever it is, it's just one. It is owned by your revocable living trust. So everything is flowing down to your revocable living trust. Basically here, you can have this S Corp own other LLCs or other businesses where you are a partnership, or maybe you can even own a partnership where you own maybe you own 70% here and some other person owns 30%. So the S Corp is owning that business. So what I want you to also have, once you have this, it allows me to be able to play. Now, the person who, if you came to me and you had only a W-2, I'm very, very interested in knowing whether that W-2 has something called a 401k. 401k, because this 401k is something we can also play with. It is people put a lot of money in their 401k, they just don't know how it works. So basically with the 401k, I'm able to tell you how to structure it so that you can maximize. Many people have 401ks, they don't even know how much how much is being contributed. They don't even know if that 401k has a match. Are they contributing? Are they maximizing their contributions to that? Because this is a bucket that creates a lot of money, creates you wealth. And if you do it properly, we can also help you structure it and even self-direct it to do crazy things, to multiply the value even tenfold. So what I want to do here, I want to know, do you have a 401k in your W-2? That's very important for me. The other thing, now you have the operation side. This is where you have everything. Maybe one spouse has a W-2, the other spouse has an S Corp or an LLC, and we've elected an S Corp for that spouse. These all for tax benefit purposes. Here, you can have somebody who's making maybe $500,000 here, $500,000 here in W-2, and then we set up the structure so that we can avoid taxes for the family. Then the other thing is you also have on the right side, you have your assets. You have maybe your assets and you want to have an LLC. That LLC will own maybe your rental, your real estate, your rental property. It probably has, maybe you're investing in cryptos. Maybe you're also investing in stocks. These are all passive activity that are working the dollars for you while you're sleeping. Maybe it can also have other LLCs which own other assets. So the structure here could be complicated. But the key thing is that this LLC is also owned by the Revocable Living Trust. And this is where the dollars are coming in. Ownership is by the Revocable Living Trust. So what is important here, and even your home is also owned by what? By the Revocable Living Trust. Not that I didn't put your home in an LLC. I put your home on the side and I make it owned by the Revocable Living Trust. Another thing I want to tell you is, because you're working all the money on this side, income generated from operations, this income from operations pays taxes. They pay taxes. And this is very important, folks. Income from operation pay taxes. All these ones here from passive activity, they do not pay taxes. Do not pay taxes. I know people will tell me that, no, assets pay property taxes and stuff. Yes, I know they pay property tax. But when you have all these things, these are all rentals. For example, your rental, all these things. Guess who pays all those property taxes? It is the tenant and not you. What you're paying here, you're making all these on this side. The tenant who is living on these properties are the people who are paying all the property taxes. So income will generally pay. These are going to create you a lot of taxes. And remember, this is where you're working actively. So we want to look for ways of making sure that you're looking for buckets of canceling this $500,000 that you just made in income this year. So now the objective is how can we help push some of your assets here, all these assets you're creating here? How can we help push them so that it can build you more assets? So how can we push all these dollars here to build you more assets? Very, very important. You want to push those assets, push that money, push all this income that you're generating on this side, on the asset side, so you can build more assets. These assets, in turn, we can use them to avoid taxes for you. So we use the assets that are coming from here to see how we can avoid taxes for you on this side. Key things here. That is where you have what you call tax mitigation. The 401k is one of them. You have things like all these rental assets, all these crypto, all these businesses that you have here. They can help you avoid taxes as much as you can think of. So we have things like here. Many people have their kids who are constantly working for them. They are not even working in their business. You have things like what? Like other retirement benefits, other retirement benefits, IRAs. You have things like deferred benefit plans. You have things like your life insurance, which you can structure in many different ways. You have many, here we have tools. We can give you not thousands. We can give you about 400 different tools that you can use to avoid taxes. You can put your kids' education, all those crazy things that you can put here. Remember, the key here is you want to use those assets. You want to continuously push your operating income to create more assets for you. And those are not any type of assets. Those assets that will help you be able to mitigate your taxes. For example, we use a lot of real estate because real estate is a place where you can basically, if you qualify for certain things, you can basically, while you're building your wealth 10x, while you're building your wealth 10x, because basically, why do I say 10x? You are investing 20K and then you're using other people's money to buy, to invest in those real estate. So basically you're only investing 20K, but because it's 10X, so it's going to buy you an asset for 200K. So you just multiplied 20K, 28. And this 200K, you can basically use it and write it off if you meet certain criteria. You can write off almost half of it or 1/3 of it today to write off against your ordinary income. And so many things that you have here, all these deferred benefit programs, all these deferred retirement benefits, all these different tax deferral plans, all these plans, and we have more than 400, 300 of them that we can use to avoid you taxes here. That's why you see all these millionaires and billionaires, they spend their time, instead of generating more of their income on the W-2s on this side, on the operation side, they are building all their wealth and transferring it, building all these assets. Remember, I just told you, assets and other people's money. When you leverage other people's money, you don't pay no taxes. When you use all these assets, they don't tend to pay taxes. So billionaires and millionaires, they tend to live on other people's money. They live on leveraging, they live on assets. So and leveraging other people's money, and that helps them to mitigate their taxes. The top 3% of Americans who all use this method here have 3 things in common. And I'm going to tell you, they have 3 things in common. One, I'm going to just give me a second. The 3 things they have in common is one, they have privacy and asset protection. That is why you hear of millionaires and billionaires, all these rich people, every day they talk about oh, this guy has got, he had maybe 3 bankruptcies, he's having bankruptcies here and there, but he's not going, none of his asset is losing. They have been protected against creditors, they have been protected against litigation, they have been protected against bankruptcy, all these things. While he's going bankrupt in one of these entities here, it is not affecting any of the entities, and not his assets. His personal assets are all shielded in the revocable living trust. So he has privacy and asset protection. The revocable living trust gives you privacy, and you have asset protection with all these LLCs that you've created in different pockets, and you've put all your assets in there. The other thing, number 2 thing that they have, is something that they call tax mitigation. Tax mitigation is a very important tool. Most people, 90%, I mean, all these people here, the biggest thing they are doing is trying to avoid taxes. Because let me tell you, for example, if you made 500K in taxes, in income in a year, your tax bill, depending on if you're single or married filing joint, you could pay as much as 150 to almost 200,000, 150K in that money in taxes, depending on how you're structured. So basically, the tax bill is your most important, the most important bill that you have. It is the largest portion of your money, of your hard-earned money, tends to be going to taxes, unless you are mitigating taxes. So all these people here who are called the smart people, they understand that we need to mitigate our taxes, and they use tax strategists to make them reduce that 150K to 0 in taxes. And this 150K that they just created in terms of mitigation, what do they use in doing? They amass, they invest in real estate. And to invest in real estate, most people just think you just will have to invest in real estate. When you want to invest in real estate, you have to make sure that you're meeting the criteria of that either you or your spouse meets that criteria as being a real estate professional. And this is not, it is not an exam that you have to take. It is just a process. You have to meet certain criteria that is required by the IRS. If you meet the real estate professional criteria, you are going to be able to take the losses, paper losses that are coming from real estate, and use them against your ordinary income. Number 2, there's something called the short-term rental loophole. And this one, we're going to talk about that in a separate video. But key things here, I mean, this is all I wanted to talk to you. The trifecta here is this basic diagram that I just showed you. This is how you structure your estate. So you have, at the basis, you have a revocable living trust. That revocable living trust, which gives you privacy, and it also allows you to be able to transfer your wealth from one generation to the other tax-free. The next thing it gives you, within the revocable living trust, it's basically an estate plan that has a trust. The trust will transfer your estate from one generation to the other tax-free. And then it avoids you something called probate that you always get with a will. Number 2 is you want to also, from a legal perspective, the foundation should be the revocable living trust. Then from a tax perspective, the 1040 is your foundation, because this 1040 is what is going to give you access to other people's money. So the 1040 is your foundation from a tax perspective. Now you divide your estate into 2. On the right side, you have something called assets, which is what you're building, which is passive activity that you're building over the years. You're building these assets, and your focus is to build as much assets as you can, because these assets are what are going to build your wealth. They are going to build wealth. And secondly, you have all those things that you are not actively involved in, like you can have an LLC that's actually involved in anything, or Bitcoin or whatever. You have this real estate property that's also included in an LLC. You have cryptos. You have to segregate them, separate them, so that they are all individuals. That's why you see some people, they have about 10 companies, 20 companies, 30 LLCs, 50 LLCs, all involved in single activities. I mean, so on this side, you have all the passive activity. They are creating money, the dollar for you while you're asleep. On the left side, you have your operations. The operations is those things that your ass is busy trying to work the dollars on. So basically, your W-2 job. You go to your W-2 job and you're working on a daily basis hard. You are the one generating the income here. You are your W-2 job, or maybe your business that you're actively working on. And if you have businesses, you want to structure them. You have side gig, LLC, and then we have the S corp. You can have that, and then all these S corp can also own other LLCs, which where you or other partnerships as well. It could own partnerships as well, where you only have a certain percentage of the partnership, but you are actively engaged. Because if it's a passive activity, then you want to put it on the right side. So if you think about this, and then you're pushing your assets, your income here on the left side, you want to push it on the right side, because like I said before, assets and other people's money. Because when you buy assets, you're basically leveraging other people's money. You're putting an investment of $30,000, and then the bank is putting about $300,000. So you're basically getting 9/10 of your investment from another person's money. So other people's money, they don't pay taxes, and then assets do not pay taxes. I hear a lot of people, I've seen some text coming through, some people telling me that, oh, but you pay taxes on property. Yes, property, you will pay taxes on property. But guess who is paying tax? If you have rental property, who is paying the rental? Who is paying the taxes on the rental property? The property tax is being paid by the tenant on that property. So basically, other people's money and assets don't pay taxes. But the big taxpayer is this guy called operations. Every dollar you make here is going to pay taxes. And in most cases, you will get something called self-employment tax, which is an additional 15.3% if you are not structured properly. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about today. And I hope that was helpful. You have a great day. And let's talk again tomorrow. We have another meeting tomorrow to talk about these, how we can project this thing, how we help people with these things, and how we can basically use any of the strategies. I told you we have more than 400 strategies. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to tell you how you can educate your children, how you can basically make your children work for your business. And then you can transfer, you can basically make them, you can pay their school fees from the IRS will help you pay their school fees. The IRS will help you for their vacation. The IRS will help you with, I mean, there are so many things you can do. And most importantly, you can invest their money to build generational wealth for them. That's going to be tax-free. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Thank you, guys. You have an excellent rest of your day.